संस्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। Is the door closed? So, as you have seen, we'll be discussing what can be termed as an introduction to Gyan Yoga by Swami Vivekananda. So, Swami Vivekananda has described each of the four yogas in an exceptionally wonderful manner, as we know. So, Karma Yoga is the aim of all the yogas is the same. Either you call it God realization or freedom or Brahma Jnana or whatever you call it. Now, Karma Yoga we've already discussed in some detail, a little is left. So, Karma Yoga is gaining perfection through work. Gyan Yoga stresses on knowledge, that is discrimination. So, what is the process here we have to understand? In all the yogas, the aim is one. What is that aim? We have become identified with something which we are not. That is all. This misidentification has made us forget our real nature. Like some magicians you may have seen, they will do some magic, hypnotize somebody. So that somebody will begin thinking he is a cat, suppose. So what is happening? He is thinking he is a cat. So all the human attributes are gone. So he has come down to a much lower level because he is identifying himself with the cat. So we are also identifying ourselves with something which is much lower than our real nature. We are thinking I am so and so, I have got a body, I have got a mind, I am getting diseases, I am getting sick physically, mentally. So all these are due to misidentification. Now all the yogas say to get rid of this misidentification, you have to leave this misconception. To leave this misconception means all the thoughts, actions should be such that they should be disinclined to getting bound by the mind and body. Now, all selfish actions strengthen this bond. Why? Because they are either for the mind or the body. If I want to eat an ice cream means what? I want to enjoy the pleasure of the body. So I am telling myself I am the body. Is it not? So the misidentification, instead of becoming slowly weaker, it is becoming stronger. So the goal is this, to become non-attached to what we think we are. We are thinking ourselves to be little personalities, this mind, this body. Give up those. This giving up can be done in various ways. So Karma Yoga, we've studied that if you continuously do unselfish actions, slowly, that identification will become weaker. One day it will go away. Gyan Yoga, what does it say? Gyan Yoga says those who are not of a very active nature, they will stress on discrimination. Discrimination means the problem we should realize, the yogas are all for only one thing, culture of the mind. The problem is here. Problem is not outside. So Gyan Yoga, what does it say? Gyan Yoga say you mentally discriminate. What is your real nature? think about it, meditate on it, cogitate on it. And thus, you will get rid of this. But in every yoga, you have to give up. There is no yoga in which you can do whatever you like, because you will be just strengthening your identification with the mind and body that way. So giving up and renunciation is the bedrock of all the yogas. Only difference is this giving up is done with different attitudes. That is all. So Gyan Yoga is only for the few. In spiritual life, actually, most of us have to combine these yogas. Exclusive Gyan Yoga may be 1 in 10 million or maybe less. But still, even for those who are stressing on other yogas like devotion or Karma Yoga, some aspects of Gyan Yoga are very important to learn, because otherwise what we call bhakti will just become emotion. And what we call Karma Yoga, if there is no philosophical base behind that, it will not be so effective. So as we progress, we will learn that how all these different yogas can combine to make our spiritual journey more complete and easy. So today we will discuss what can be said to be Swami Vivekananda's introduction. So here he discusses what is the origin of religion. Now, of course, it is so well developed in every sphere, rituals, mythology, philosophy, everything is there. But what are the germs? So in discussing this, as usual, he throws wonderful light, and we will see. So the very first sentence of this article or speech is wonderful. He says, of all the forces that have worked and are still working to mold the destinies of the human race, none certainly is more potent than that the manifestation of which we call religion. The destiny of man is molded by different forces. Some great event, some inclination, everything goes to make up the journey of the human race. But he says the most powerful molder of the human destiny is more potent than anything else, is the manifestation of which we call religion. That is the greatest force. And he says another thing, the greatest cohesive impulse, cohesion, joining, the greatest cohesive impulse ever brought into play among human units has been derived from this power. This sentence is so important that it should be analyzed. Now, cohesive power. Cohesive power means what? Something which joins us, joins human being. Like any great thing we do, one human being cannot do. There has to be a joint effort. Now, if people are going to work together, something must join them. So that joining power, upon the strength of that joining power, lies the success of that venture. Is it not? Now, what happens? When people join together means what? People attracted by the same ideal are brought together. And they work for a common cause. This can be seen on the lowest level also, on the highest level also. For example, in India, people are cricket mad. We all know. So when you go to a stadium, 100,000 people are sitting at Eden Gardens. So if suppose you are sitting with someone, you are supporting India. 10 people around you are also supporting India. So what? You don't know that person, but immediately you will feel a unity with him. Oh, India, India. So you feel a unity, you have a friendship. That friendship will go as soon as you go out of the stadium. But for the time being, something is uniting you, is it not? So that cohesive force, joining force is there. Why? Because you are supporters of India. So lowest level I am talking about. Now that cohesive force will go as soon as you go out of the stadium. You go your way, he goes that way. Because it is very weak, it is just for a few hours. But there are creative cohesive forces. So how, for example, the freedom struggle of India or any other country. The cause is a noble cause, much more noble than a cricket match. So what happens? They are united with a greater bond. In England, you will see that many people who fought together in the Second World War, still on a particular date, I have forgotten the details, they meet together, still. So that bond is very strong. Why? Because they were fighting for such a serious thing, for such a noble thing. So the bond which is joining them together was much more stronger than any ice hockey match or cricket match. Now what is the strongest bond? So Swamiji says this cohesive force is the most powerful when people are united by a religious ideal, spiritual ideal. That is the force of religion. So this often we don't realize, but it is true. And if we study the history of the world, we'll see that anybody who shouts a religious slogan, he will attract automatically hundreds of persons, sometimes thousands of persons. And it is no more prevalent than in India. So Swami Vivekananda says it is obvious to all of us that in very many cases the bonds of religion have proved stronger than the bonds of race, climate, or even descent. Descent means clan, family. So it is a well-known fact that persons worshipping the same God, believing in the same religion, have stood by each other with much greater strength and constancy than people of merely the same descent or even brothers. Sometimes even the family bonds are less important, especially when they are dogmatic. Like suppose if some Muslim persons, there are two brothers, one becomes he becomes a different faith. A Hindu becomes a Muslim, Muslim becomes a Hindu. Many times he is estranged from the family because the religious bond is greater. Good or bad, I don't know. But this is the fact that it sometimes happens, and that is what Swamiji is telling. So, when such is the tremendous power of religion over humankind, we should know something more about it. So that is why Swamiji, as an introduction, he tells us, let us see this great power, from where did it originate? How did it originate? Now, various attempts have been made to trace the beginnings of what we call religions. In all ancient religions which have come down to us at the present day, one claim is made. There is one thing which is common to all, that they are not of this world. They come from somewhere high, beyond this world. They are not natural, They are supernatural. Their genesis, their birth, is not in the human brain, but they have originated somewhere outside it. They are not born in this world. Their origin is something far beyond this world. This is common to all. But before proceeding further, we should at least know what religion is. What is the definition of religion? We have various concepts. Oh, I go to temple once a week. I am very religious. Not only I go, I also give some donation. I also take prasad. I am extremely religious. For most of the people, religion begins and ends there. So I will present you two concepts, Western and Eastern. Then you will realize what is the great difference between the viewpoints of religion. One great authority we know is Encyclopedia Britannica. So I will quote from Encyclopedia Britannica about how this defines religion. So the encyclopedia says religion is human beings' relation to that which they regard as holy, sacred, spiritual, divine, or worthy of special reverence. So my relation to that is religion. It is also commonly regarded as consisting of the way people deal with ultimate concerns about their lives and their fate after death. In many traditions, this relation and these concerns are expressed in terms of one's relation with or attitude towards gods or spirits. So human beings' relation to that which they regard as holy, spiritual, this is the first thing. And how people deal with ultimate concern. Ultimate means life and death. Petty concerns we know, going here, eating this, eating that. No. Ultimate concern, life and death. How you deal with that. So this is the Western concept of religion. So we can see that it is not really beyond the world, so to say. It deals with our attitudes. It is not something finding beyond. But see how Swami Vivekananda describes religion. This concept is so different, we should know. Swamiji says, religion does not consist in doctrines or dogmas. The very first sentence is slightly in conflict with what we have read. If you believe in something, you are religious, according to the Western idea. But here Swamiji says it does not consist in doctrines or dogmas. It is not what you read, nor what dogmas you believe that is of importance. They are not even important. What is important then? He says, what you realize. What is your realization? Then he says, creeds and sects have their parts to play. I belong to this fold, I belong to that fold, I go to that temple. That is okay. But they are for children. They are just the beginning of religion, not the end. Then what is the end? The end of religion, the goal of religion is realizing of God in the soul. Realizing of God means what? Taking you beyond these senses, beyond the body, beyond the mind, raising us to a higher level of consciousness. That is the kernel of religion. He says that is the one universal religion. If there is one universal truth in all religions, I place it here in realizing God, in realizing the Atma, in realizing Brahman. Ideals and methods may differ, but that is the central point. So see, our Eastern concept and Western concept, they are slightly different. The goal, mostly people take religion to help them in their worldly life. So religion is not important in itself. I go to temple, I pray to God, say, God, give me a better job, give me a higher salary, give me a good wife, give me a good children. Then I put something there, think God will be happy and give me. So in Christianity also, suppose you go to Sunday church, okay. So you have a place in society. Yeah, he is religious, he is spiritual. Nothing beyond. So this is, Swamiji says, all these creeds and sects and rituals, they are okay for beginning. But that is not the aim. Because they are all centered within the world. They will not get rid of this identification, misidentification with the mind and body. And will not allow us to see the reality. So this is very important. Now about the origin of religion, he says two theories have gained acceptance amongst modern scholars. How did religion first originate? So two theories. One is the spirit theory of religion. The other, the evolution of the idea of the infinite. We'll see. One party maintains that ancestor worship is the beginning of religious ideas. This is one view. Ancestors, my father, grandfather, great-grandfather. And the other party thinks that religion originates in the personification of the powers of nature. Wind, storm, lightning, thunder, all these things. So first, ancestor worship. What is ancestor worship? The worship of the manes or ancestors, this I am quoting from the Encyclopedia of Philosophy and Religion. The worship of the manes or ancestors is one of the great branches of the religion of mankind. Its principles are not difficult to understand, for they plainly keep up the social relations of the living world. Social relations, my friend, my brother, my sister, my mother, my father, etc. So you are just elongating them even after some of them are dead. So they just keep up those social relations. The dead ancestor, now passed into a deity, simply goes on protecting his family and receiving service from them as before. So what do they think? Okay, my grandfather is gone, but now he is some sort of deity. He's become some sort of minor god-like person, and we offer him something, and now since he has gone higher, he has more power, he will also protect us. That is the thing. And when there was tribes and chiefs and all that, so they used to think the dead chief will still watch over his tribe, still hold his authority by helping friends and finishing off the enemies. So he will reward his own tribe and destroy the other tribes. As human nature is, that is bound to happen. So the simple thing behind ancestor worship is Man, means human beings, wants to keep up the memory of his dead relatives. As simple as that. And thinks they are living even when their body is dissolved into the five elements. So he wants to think of them as living. So he places food before them to worship them. So one party says from that came religion. So to elaborate, Swamiji says, studying the ancient religions of the Egyptians, Babylonians, Chinese, and many other races in America and elsewhere, we find very clear traces of ancestor worship being the beginning of religion. With the ancient Egyptians, the first idea of the soul was that of a double. Every human body contained in it another being very similar to it. And when a man died, this double left the body. But he yet lived on. Like our concept, body will go, body will die, but the Atman, Jivatman will come out. But their concept, although this similarities were there, but it was very different in another spheres. So the Egyptians thought that this double has gone out of the body, but he will live only as long as his body is kept. Otherwise, poor fellow, he wants to again go into the body, how will he go? So that was the concept. So as long as the dead body remained intact, he will also live. That is why Egyptians, built so much to keep all these bodies. Huge pyramids to preserve the bodies. And they also believed that if the external body, the dead body was hurt, the double would also be injured. So this is clearly ancestor worship. When those who have gone, you are thinking they are still attached to the body, still living. He says with the ancient Babylonians, we find the same idea of the double but with a variation. Here the double which came out of the body lost all sense of love and it became an object of fear. Like we have ghosts. So ghosts are what? Ghosts are just people who were once alive. But we are afraid. They may harm us. And some ghosts do harm us. But they are good ghosts also. Anyway, so here Babylonians thought that these people, they have lost all sense of love. And they will harm us if we don't give them food and drink and help them in various ways. It will also lose all affection for its own children, own family, everything. And Swamiji says, amongst the ancient Hindus also we find traces of ancestor worship. And among Chinese, he says, the basis of their religion may also be said to be ancestor worship. It is still there through the length and breadth of China. So, when we read all this, a very good position is made out for those who hold the theory of ancestor worship as the beginning of religion. But the other view is also there. What is that other view? There are scholars who from the ancient Aryan literature show that religion originated in nature worship. Nature. More powerful. Thunder is coming. It will blow away our houses. Lightning is coming. It may cause fire. Terrible rain is coming. It may cause a deluge. Floods, etc. So nature is much more powerful. Man realized in no course of time. So then what happened? It began to worship those forces of nature. So nature worship, how has it been defined? Nature worship focuses on the veneration of natural phenomena. You revere those who are more powerful than you. It is a form of religious practice that considers nature and the natural world to be imbued with spirits and sacred entities. In nature worship, the sacred can manifest itself in material form without losing its character. So, sacred, holy, it is manifesting as these forces of nature. So, in Hinduism, this concept is so prevalent. We say, who is the god of rain, thunder? Indra. Indra is the god. So, Indra is somebody sacred, he is a god, but he is manifesting itself. So, you want rain, you worship Indra. So, these concepts are there. We also believe that these deities are not just imaginary beings, they actually control these things. Somebody must be guiding these things. So, what is the harm in thinking that there is some force which is guiding it? You just give the name Indra, but it is just a force, it is just a position. So, in the human world, nothing can happen till someone causes it to happen. Is it not? So, what is the harm in believing that in nature also nothing can happen till some force is there? So in India, we find proofs of ancestor worship everywhere, ancestor worship. But in the oldest records, Swamiji says, in the Rig Veda Samhita, the oldest, there was no mention of ancestor worship. There is no mention at all. Modern scholars think it is the worship of nature that we find there. So Indra, Varuna, Agni, all these deities, they are connected with nature in some form or the other. Agni is the fire god, the god of wind is Varuna, like that. So what is happening here? The human mind is struggling to have an idea, to see behind the scenes, behind nature what it is. We are always wondering. We are sending rockets into space, we are doing so much research. So what is the root of that? Man wants to go beyond. Go to the moon, go to the planets, if possible go to a different galaxy. Space, man is not satisfied with this small world, with this small knowledge. He wants to be infinite. Why? Because his nature is infinite. So man wants to go beyond the scenes. And nature, parts of nature, phenomenon of nature, dawn, evening, hurricane, stupendous and gigantic forces of nature, then the beauties of nature. These have exercised the human mind. They affect the human mind. Immediately, rain, cloud, we feel a little depressed. Oh, sunny weather, very nice. So they have such a great influence on our human mind. And because of these, human mind aspires to go beyond, to understand something about them. And what happens in this struggle, we endow these phenomena with attributes, giving them names, giving them bodies, sometimes beautiful, sometimes transcendent, sometimes ugly also. So personalize the force who is governing thunder and rain. Personalize means give him a body. Yeah, give him a name, he is Indra. This is the tendency. So every attempt to do this ends by these phenomena becoming abstractions. These are abstractions. They are not something you can see or feel. Whether they become personalized or not, they are abstractions. And he says similar is the case with ancient Greeks. In ancient Greeks, their whole mythology is simply this abstracted nature worship. And it is so prevalent that it is also there in ancient Germans, Scandinavians, and all other ancient Aryan races. So both sides have strong cases that religion may have come from ancestor worship, it may have come from worship of the forces of nature. Now we may think, okay, these two are completely different. Ancestor worship, worship of nature, there is no similarity between them. Now we come to Swami Vivekananda's conciliation of these two. Here lies the genius of these prophets. They show the force working behind this. What does he say? These two views, though they seem to be contradictory, can be reconciled on a third basis, which, to my mind, Swamiji says, to my mind, is the real germ of religion. And what is that? He says that I propose to call the struggle to transcend the limitations of the senses. The struggle to transcend this mind and body, this world, go beyond, reach the infinite. So both of these, ancestor worship as well as nature worship, signifies a struggle to go beyond. Each our activity, if we see, is going, we are trying to go beyond. If you shut a person in a room, he will go mad. He wants to go outside. His mind is clamoring for expansion. So we go outside, we go here and there, cruises, this and that. It is all for this one thing. We try to go beyond. We are not satisfied with this limitation. We are searching for happiness in Europe, in America, in Rome, in Moon. But people are living in Rome also. They are coming to Vancouver. So where is happiness? In Rome or Vancouver? It is all here. We forget that. And we are searching for infinity outside. Infinity cannot be found outside. Our goal is here, inside. But the impulse, we are misdirecting outside. That is the thing. But the impulse is the same. To transcend the mind and body, the senses. This is the germ of religion. So either man goes to seek for the spirits of his ancestors, those who are dead. So by doing this, what he is trying, he wants to get a glimpse of what is there after death. Or he desires to understand the power working behind the stupendous phenomenon of nature. Whatever of these, whichever of these is the case, one thing is certain in both the things. He tries to transcend the limitations of his mind and body. He cannot remain satisfied with the senses. He wants to go beyond. So all religions are attempts to get beyond nature. Even the crudest religion also, the tribes, the ancient tribes, wild practically, their concept of religion also they are worshipping a powerful being who will give them something more which they cannot get. So the crudest or the most developed, expressed through mythology or symbology, stories of gods, stories of angels, or higher, expressed through the abstractions of philosophy. How beautifully he puts it, Swamiji. So either they are manifesting on a lower level or on a higher level. Lower level through mythology, symbology, stories, gods, etc., angels, demons, or abstractions of philosophy. So Hinduism, many people don't understand. Puranas, your Puranas say king is living for 10,000 years. Can this happen? So we have to understand that this is a part of mythology. It is teaching spiritual truths through stories. They are not supposed to be taken literally. So in one word, Swamiji says, all these things, they signify what? They signify the desire in humans to struggle for freedom. Freedom from the mind and body. Nothing should be able to bind me. Human beings feel consciously or unconsciously that he is not bound. They are not bound. And he is not what he wants to be. It was taught to him the very moment he began to look around. The very instant he learned that he was bound. A child, as soon as you don't give him anything, he starts crying. Why? You are stepping on his freedom. He wants something, he is not getting. So he feels, I am bound. This person is not giving me what I want. He protests in the form of crying. So Swamiji says, as soon as we opened our eyes as babies, we learned that we were bound. We started crying. So, and human beings also found out that there was one thing he found, that he was bound. And he also found out there was something in him which wanted to fly beyond, that the body could not follow, but which was chained down by the body. So something is in us which wants to go beyond, but the body and the senses are like the chain which are holding us down. This spirit of freedom is there every time, but problem is we are not seeking the true method of manifesting this freedom. We are trying to manifest in the outside world, but it can never be done. Infinity can never be manifested through finite things. The world is finite, however large it may be. Infinity cannot be manifested through finite things. So, Swamiji says, even in the lowest form of religious ideas, departed ancestors and spirits being worshipped, violent and cruel, lurking about the houses of their friends, we find one common factor, which is the search for freedom. Human beings who want to worship the gods, etc., he sees that the gods have greater freedom than me. Gods are flying around. Gods can strike thunderbolt. They are much more powerful. So gods can, maybe if the door is closed, they can go through the door. So they have much more freedom. So he is worshipping through the gods that power of freedom. And this idea of freedom increases until it comes to the idea of the personal God. That is the highest expression. So the God, who is God? The God is one. That is the central concept of God. Is one, that He is a being beyond any limitation. Beyond the limitation of Maya. Beyond the limitation of nature. Nothing can bind Him. He is the Supreme, Ishvara. So, another very interesting point which Swamiji says and which is also supported by Western scholars, I will just tell you, then we will come to the end. So Swamiji says, to me it seems very natural that the glimpse of religion should come through dreams. Dreams. The first idea of immortality man may have gotten through dreams. How? He explains. In dreams, what happens? The body is completely lying still. So, to all outward appearances, the body is like dead. It cannot move. But another world is created. So, is it not a wonderful state? Swamiji says. And what can be more natural that we find that even during the sleep state, when the body is apparently dead, the mind goes on with all its intricate workings. We are going here, we are going there, we are meeting this person, we are meeting that person. But actually, the body is lying down at rest. So what wonder that men will at once come to the conclusion that even when the body is dissolved forever, that working will go on. Because he sees, when my body is lying still, I am in another world. So even if my body is burnt, why can't the same thing happen? And it happens. Because even after the body is burnt, the soul leaves the body. The mind leaves the body. So that's why he says, the glimpse of religion, first glimpse may come through dreams. And the Encyclopedia of Religion and Philosophy quotes an authority on this subject by the name of Tyler. He says, man first attains to the idea of spirit. Spirit means soul. By reflection on various physical, psychological and psychical experiences, such as sleep, dreams, trances, hallucinations, breath and death. And in Vedanta it has been done wonderfully. Jagrata, waking state, Swapna, dream state and Sushupti, deep sleep, has been wonderfully, and we have also, here we have had 3 discussions on that, separate. But of course, in the vast majority of mankind later found that dreams are not verified by their waking state. In dream, I may have been in America, but when I wake up, I find that I am in my bed, on my bed. And the dream state is not a fresh existence, but simply we recapitulate what we have seen in the waking state, and some imagination is also there. But by all this, ancestor worship, nature worship, all these started the search of mankind. Search after infinity, search after complete freedom. And very soon, human beings found that the search could not be satisfied outside. So the search began inside. Man continued inquiring more deeply into the different stages of the mind and discovered higher states than either waking or dreaming. This state of things we find in all the organized religions of the world. So this state, which is higher, more superior than even the waking state, that is called the state of knowledge. It is called, you can either call it in English if you want, it is the state of ecstasy, or they call it inspiration. In Hinduism, we call it the state of samadhi. So what is that state? In all religions, the founders, prophets, messengers, saints, they declared that they have gone into such states of mind that were higher than waking or sleeping. So what happened when they went there? What did they experience? They said they came face to face with a new series of facts. They gained a new light. And they gained what is called a spiritual kingdom. That kingdom, they say that, is permanent. Here everything comes and goes. But there, nothing will come, nothing will go. And there is no misery associated with the mind and body. So in that state, they realized things much more intensely than we realize facts around us in the waking state. So when Swamiji asked Sri Ramakrishna, sir, have you seen God? Sri Ramakrishna answered, yes. Just as I see you, I see God. But more intensely. Because compared to that state, even the waking state is like a dream. And Swami Vivekananda had experienced that state even when he was a student. Once he was, that's another story we will see sometime else. So Swami Vivekananda was once laughing. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, everything is God. So Swami Vivekananda, there was one friend of his, Hazara, he was laughing. Everything is God. Thakur says everything is God. This table is God. This jug is God. This sky is God. So they were making fun. So Sri Ramakrishna came out. What were you people discussing? Then he just touched Swami Vivekananda. Just touched. Immediately, the whole mental world of Swamiji changed. He saw that consciousness of God permeating everything. He describes that experience in many pages. So, we are very lucky that we have got those. We can see that later. So, this is the thing. Now, for conclusion, we just elaborate on this point which Swamiji has made. So, each person in the world, when he is struggling for freedom, for complete mastery, for going beyond, what does it show? It shows that every human being, whosoever and wherever he may be, has an ideal inside his mind of infinite power. Nothing will be able to control me. And he also has an ideal of infinite happiness. I want happiness. There should be no limit. And there should be no misery. These two ideals are guiding us in everything we do. Every single act we do. Right from birth till the end. But we don't gain this. Why? Because we are searching where these things can never be found. We are searching them in external things. In money, in worldly power, friends, relatives, house, cars. You can never find them there. So each person has this ideal at heart. Every human being has these ideals. All the works that we find around us, the activities displayed everywhere, are due to this struggle for this infinite power or infinite pleasure. But few persons quickly discover that this struggle can never be satisfied. They can never reach infinite power, infinite glory, infinite happiness through the external world, through the senses. It is not there. Infinite pleasure is not to be got through the senses, because the senses are limited. How can you gain the infinity through finite things? Body is limited. It cannot express infinity. So we have to go beyond. And many people have succeeded in going beyond. These people have made a tremendous statement. What is that statement? That the human mind at certain moments transcends not only the limitations of the senses, but also the power of reasoning. It transcends the mind, body and senses. Then, and then alone, it comes to face with facts which it could never have sensed, could never have reasoned out. These facts are the basis of all the religions of the world. This is the thing. So throughout the world, wherever there has been a religion, wherever there will be a religion, they have all sprung and will spring out from only one source. Call it by various names. And that, what is that source? What is called inspiration or transcendental experience or samadhi or God realization, whatever you call it. That experience is the source. So, religion essentially belongs to the plane beyond the senses. There the eyes cannot go, the ears cannot hear, the mind cannot reach, words cannot express. That is the field and goal of true religion. And from this comes what we call inspiration. So these persons transcend the senses, they gain that wonderful experience, these teachers and prophets, they rise above consciousness, and when they come back to the plane of consciousness, they are radiant with light. They come back as prophets, saints, messengers of God, and they bring us news from beyond. They tell us, otherwise there is no way of knowing. If they don't tell us how to know there is something beyond, it is impossible to even guess. So they are the greatest benefactors of mankind. They lead us to that goal which we are searching from all time to come. For millions of births we are searching. We will keep on searching till we find. But we will never find it in the external world. So they tell us where to find it. They bring news from the beyond. So they are called the inspired seers of the world. And that wonderful state is called the supersensus or superconscious state of the mind. And all the religions claim to be founded on facts discovered in that state. In that state you know whether there is a soul. In that state you know whether there is a God. In that state you know what happens after death. This is the thing. And that superconscious state is identical in all the religions. If a Christian works and goes right to the highest illumination, he will experience the same thing which a Hindu will experience, which a Muslim will experience, which any person of any religion will experience. Because there we are all one. It is the state of perfect unity where God only exists. So this state, Swami Vivekananda says, our search through infinite births, it will end when the knowledge which is confined within the domain of time and space will meet and become one with that which is beyond them both, where the mind and senses cannot reach, the absolute, the infinite, the one without a second. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram